Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on all popular podcast streams and on YouTube. And today my guest is Michelle Tillis Lederman, and she's from Executive Essentials. And her topic today is called The Connector's Advantage. And Michelle is one of Forbes' top 25 networking experts, is the author of 4 books, including the internationally known The 11 Laws of Likability, and her latest, The Connector's Advantage. Michelle is a connection creator and CEO of Executive Essentials, which provides customized communications and leadership programs for Fortune 500, nonprofit, university, and government clients. I won't go too much further into it because I'll let Michelle fill in all the blanks. Welcome, Michelle.
Thanks, Rose. Happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit more about your business, The Connector's Advantage.
Well, The Connector's Advantage is actually the title of my latest book. And that really does share the methodology and the mindsets that I employ in my business. I've been in business since 2004, and I have a company that does leadership, communication, team building, coaching, training. It doesn't matter. It's really about the mission more than the channel of getting that mission out there.
Yeah, okay. And so your business basically Executive Essentials. So you only deal with Fortune 500 people, or do you deal with others?
Oh, no, up and down across the board. I have worked with small little theater companies that only have 65 employees in the whole company. And I've worked with organizations like Madison Square Garden and Target and, all the major banks that you have heard of, from JP Morgan to Deutsche Bank to Citibank, you name it. I actually do a lot of work with the government as well. Nonprofits,
Okay.
universities, because here's the thing. When it comes to communication, when it comes to understanding how to be effective in your role, it doesn't matter what industry it is. We all are struggling with the same challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a real challenge with writing copy. It's not my forte at all. And yeah, and that is obviously a form of communication. I just don't hit the target. And I don't know why, but I don't know, maybe I'm just not speaking the language of my audience.
So here's what you do. You ask your audience what
Yes.
they think, what they would say about you. It's amazing what we learn when we look for input from other people, especially those people that are what we call stakeholders, right? So your audience is a stakeholder. But as a leader of an organization, as an entrepreneur, our employee, our team, our customer, they're all stakeholders. And if we just ask some really pointed questions, it's amazing what we'll learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, tell me a little bit more about how to set up a press kit via email. That's really interesting topic and something that I believe that we could all benefit from.
Well, I have to give a little credit to my publisher. So when, the press kit is really around the book. So it's about what you want to communicate and what information that person that you're sending to needs. So I use a press kit mainly for media appearances, and typically they want to know a little bit of a synopsis of the book. So if they don't have time to read the whole book, they can still sound like they have a good sense of what's the content of the book. We give them sample questions, we give them bios, pictures, and it just gives them the resources and the tools that they might need to share it with their audience.
Yeah. So what would you include in a press kit specifically?
Just the things I just mentioned. So for me, with a book summary, when it's a press kit for a book, it was a little bit about the book, testimonials about the book. It was questions that an interviewer can ask me about the book if they haven't developed their own questions. We always want to make it really easy for our audience to get the information that they need, and
So
make it look pretty.
Yeah. So do you include things like, your obviously your logo and your colors? Do you include any of those things in a press kit?
Of course, that's the design of it. So you will want your designer to visually make sure it represents your brand. So my press kit will match the colors of my book in the blue and the gold. It will include the logo that you see kind of on the cover image. So yes, that's more about visual branding, which is not my area of expertise. I pay people for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just interesting to know in sending out press kits or media releases. I know media releases you don't send any of those things out, but yeah, having a press kit is interesting, because I know people have written books and they don't know what to include when they're sending out their kits to other people. So yeah, that's really great advice. So
If you want, we can even pop up the press kit I sent you and show them a sample.
yeah, if you've got it handy, that would be great.
Let's see if I can click and talk at the same time.
Okay.
So what kind of press kits would your audience be sending out? Would it be around a book?
Well, it might be around a book. It might be around a podcast. It might be around a speaking event.
Well, I have it up. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, you please do.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
I can do, yes.
So this is a 7-page press kit, and I'm going to make it a little smaller so you don't see. Let's see. I'll just leave it this size. So this is kind of a little bit of the forward from Ivan Misner, who started BNI. And then it is a little bit about, me and how I came to create the book. So that's a little intro about it. There's the about the author, and then why this matters to the audience. Why should they care? Then I give a little bit of an overview of the types of connectors. So in my book, I talk about the spectrum of connection, and people can be a non-connector all the way moving up to a global super connector, which is the top. I give a little bit of explanation of that, as well as an explanation of the 7 mindsets of a connector. So with those 2 things, you get a really good sense of the content in the book. And you'll have a sense of, well, do I want to ask about abundance, or do I want to ask about trust? And what do these mindsets mean? Then I give sample interview questions. And then here are quotes of what people are saying about it. So I have from the CEO of WD-40, I have from best-selling author Sally Helgeson, who wrote How Women Rise, Dory Clark, Jeff Hazlett. These are well-known names. And that kind of gives the summary of, why read it? Here's what you'll read. Here's what people are saying, and here's what you can ask about it.
Okay, that's quite. And is 7 pages like a norm, or should it be longer, or can it be shorter?
It can be longer. It can be shorter. I have a speaker packet that's 12 pages.
Okay.
So that looks a little bit different. I'm happy to pull that up and share what that looks like as well.
Because my target audience is, like in my other job, is speakers. So yeah, that would be interesting, and I'd like to see it.
Well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring you to my website because, the truth is, let me start sharing my screen. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. When you hire a speaker and you're thinking about a speaker's website, one of the things that you want to think about is, how do I make this easy for my audience? And so as a speaker, I also do training, I also do coaching. So I make it very easy to think about, what are they looking at? But then I have an audience that's meeting planners, people who are planning big conferences, and this is a key page for speakers. So if we go to the meeting planner page, you always want to make that video very easy on the homepage everywhere so that they always have video. I personalize the message from me. Here's different speech topics, and you can click on one and get a full description. So if they want to click on one, they can take this and put this right into their marketing material.
Okay.
But what's key are these blue dots. So if they want to see my demo video, if they want the bio or intro for their the person who's going to be introducing me, and if they want high-res photos that they can download, I give them options. So I have an entire resource page where they can choose the picture they like, they can choose the book cover they like, and they can also download my speaker packet. So if we look, let's see, if we download, it might be easier to see it than on the website. So I'll zoom out a little bit so you can get a sense of what a speaker packet looks like. So you want to cover hero image, what we're all about. I'm about helping people work better together. I'm dealing with engagement, retaining talent, growing leaders. So my focus is on creating connected leaders. So you'll see there's always a little bit about like the bio is going to go in there. Now I have a long one. Some people do this in one page. I have a one-page version, but if they want to learn, I'm going to send them the whole thing. So I'll give some of my credentials, being a coach, being an author. All my books are there. Here again, you saw this right on my website. So it's very consistent branding. These are some key topics and the ability to customize. And there you can see me on a stage where obviously it's a huge audience. Here's places that I've been in the media. This is now the reason why it's so long is because I have a page on for each talk, or there's 2 talks per page. So you get, again, the same thing that you saw on the website. Here's another image of me doing a talk. Here's some of my clients. So obviously it's not an exhaustive list, but it gives you a sense of the diversity that I work with. And then here's, what do they call them? Testimonials, right? So I have hundreds of testimonials, and you pick a few and you put some of your favorites and make sure they're from different types of organizations. And then a little bit about the meeting planners, how they can connect with me, some more pictures, and that's what my speaker packet looks like.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, I'll go and check that out, because I think that people would benefit greatly, especially speakers, on how to set up their own speaker package. I think it's a great concept, and thank you for sharing that. That's terrific.
My pleasure.
So, as a communicator or a connector, how can we all become better communicators or connectors?
So that is really what I'm all about, is communicating to connect. So it's both of them. But really, connection is the foundation of everything, because people do business with people they like. And the relationship is going to win over a better product, over a better price. People choose who they want to work with, whether you're a speaker, whether you're a vendor, a supplier, it doesn't matter. So when we think about being a connector, my first book, The 11 Laws of Likability, has the word networking in it. And my brother-in-law walks in my office. He goes, "Oh, another networking book." And I said, no, this one is about being a connector. He's like, "Well, what's the difference between networking and being a connector?"
Exactly. What is it?
And I said to him, I'm like, that's a great question. And I said, networking is something that you do, but a connector is who you are. And I think when you embody the mindsets, and I'll share with you what those mindsets are, and I think you saw a little peek of them in my press kit. Those mindsets are a way of interacting with people in all situations. It's not like we flip a switch and going, I'm at a networking event here, I'm going to go be this way. I am this way in all things that I do. In whether I'm on the line at the bathroom, at the line at the grocery store, or I'm with a potential client. Prioritizing relationships is the mindset of a connector, is the premise, right? But it really involves including all 7 of the mindsets. And I'll just list them out for you, and I'm happy to dive into any of them that interest you. Connectors are open and accepting. They have a clear vision. They trust. They come from a place of abundance. They're social and curious. They're conscientious, and they have a generous spirit. And yes, I have to count to make sure I get all 7.
Well, all of them interest me. So yeah, just maybe if you touch on each one just a little bit, that would be great.
Well, when we think about the connector's advantage, first, let me explain what the advantage is. And it's pretty simple: faster, easier, better. Whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, I want every listener out there right now to think about, what am I working on? What do I, what's my objective right now? Which is one of the mindsets. It's have a clear vision, right? You are going to get there faster, easier, and better when you are connected to other people who can help you get there. But having a clear vision, one of the mindsets, you can't have an advantage. You can't get faster, easier, better results unless you know what results you're looking for and you're willing to ask for them. So that's a little bit about having a clear vision. Being open and accepting is not just about being open and accepting to others and of others, but it's also about being open and accepting of yourself and what I call your unique charms. So, it really is, there's a piece of self-acceptance to enable your authentic self to be shared with somebody else. Abundance is a tough one.
Mm.
Abundance, I always define abundance by defining its opposite, which is scarcity, because people can relate to scarcity. Scarcity is this idea that there's not enough to go around. And it's really tangible. And we all have scarcity in some way in our life. And for me, growing up, scarcity was financial. And we tend to make decisions that are anecdotes to whatever scarcity exists. And we get protective and defensive. And abundance is not about a Pollyanna attitude, but rather the idea that things can and are likely to be better than they are right now. And so it is an idea of focusing on gratitude, about being able to acknowledge envy, but then kind of put it aside and allow yourself to feel happy for somebody else and to learn from them rather than to wish that you had what they had. It's to not compare yourself against other people.
Yeah,
I always say
that's, sorry to interrupt then, but yeah, abundance and comparisonitis and envy, two, I guess, three of the things that especially women find quite challenging, especially comparisonitis.
Oh, yes. And it's something that is, a mindset, it's a habit, it's something that we need to practice. And throughout the book, I put in what I call mindset missions to help people take the concepts and implement them in their lives. And this is one that I have to refocus on regularly. It's a tough one. So connectors trust. And in the book, I talk about the 4 pillars of trust: authenticity, vulnerability, transparency, and consistency. And the idea that you have to give trust to receive trust, which is also a challenge. We talk about being social and curious. And when I talk about being social and curious, I do not mean a social butterfly. I don't mean the life of the party, right? I know some amazing connectors that are deep and strong introverts. So it is not about being an extrovert. It is about being interested and curious about one other person in a moment. Conscientious is another one people do struggle with, because connectors do what they say they're going to do, right? They're going to follow up. They're going to follow through. So they also need to be really clear on what they're willing to say yes to and what they're willing to say no to. And one of the things I teach, which your listeners will probably love this part, I teach how to say yes and how to say no, and understanding that those are not one-word answers, right?
I get you there.
I mean, I would love if, like, the listeners out there would just take a moment to think, which is harder for me, saying yes or saying no? Right? What's your guess?
Oh, I don't know. Saying no.
Yeah. Saying no is really hard. And then we get overextended.
We do.
So to be conscientious, we need to create boundaries. And when we are conscientious and we create those boundaries, we allow ourselves to have that final mindset, which is the generous spirit. And when we come from a place of abundance, we allow ourselves to have a generous spirit. And, these mindsets are not linear. It's not do this one, then you get this one. It is, they enable each other, right? With trust comes conscientiousness.
Yeah, that goes hand in hand. I can see where that would align with each other. Yeah.
And so once we understand that these are the elements that enable us to become a connector, right? Then we just need to think about the depth and breadth of our connections, because the deeper and broader you go, the higher up the spectrum you become, and the faster, easier, and better results you'll get.
All right. Sounds terrific. Now, am I allowed to share your press kit in the comments section?
Sure.
Would that be okay? Just to people to get an idea of what they should include or what they could include in their own?
You can include the press kit, and you can even, as I showed you on my website, you can download my speaker packet, and you're welcome to share that as well.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. That would be great. All right. Have you got any other wise words, Michelle, for our audience about being a connector and communicating correctly or efficiently or effectively?
Well, what I would say is that anybody can be a connector. I don't want you to think, oh, I'm not good at that. That's not my natural style. One of the things that I learned in my research was that there wasn't a big differentiation in some of the characteristics, that were aligned with connectors versus non-connectors. And it surprised me, which actually shifted my whole book from being in the club, right, this elite group, to, hey, this is accessible to anybody. And anybody who's out there listening right now can start to embody these attributes and behaviors and climb their way up that spectrum. And one, not only are you going to get better professional results, you're going to be happier and you're going to be healthier. And I got statistics all in chapter 1. You'll see all of them. But like, who doesn't want to be happier? Who doesn't want to be healthier? Right? There is a greater impact to your mortality being socially isolated, which is so challenging these days with a global pandemic and all. That is going to have a greater impact on your mortality than obesity, or as if you smoked 15 cigarettes a day for 10 years.
Yeah, being alone is quite challenging, and it's people have just from being alone have committed suicide because they just can't deal with it.
It is draining. And so my wise words are, get connected, stay connected, keep connecting, and keep connected.
Yeah, it's only a phone call, really. You don't have to like be, super rich or super, smart or anything. It's only a telephone call or a Zoom call or whatever. Connecting is not that difficult. It's just, got to get out of your comfort zone if you're a bit of a shy person, and putting yourself out there in the corporate world anyway. That's where I'm talking about. But
Absolutely.
Privately, even connecting with others is got to be one of the greatest gifts that you can give someone else.
Absolutely. Introductions are a huge way to show your spirit of generosity, because you're putting your name to that introduction. And so it's so powerful. And one of the things I talk about in the chapter on social and curious, to your point, is that there's a lot of different forms of connecting. And if you don't want to do in person, which we can't do much of right now, right, then we have social media, we have Zoom, we have phone, we have instant message, we have Insta, we have so many different channels that we can leverage, and we can do something what I call light touches. A light touch is basically putting your name and the reminder of you in front of somebody without requesting anything in return. It's saying happy birthday on Facebook. That's a light touch, right? Right? They see it, they feel it, they remember you, but you don't ask anything of them.
No, I actually 2 sets of podcast guests I've introduced. So I thought that was really neat. One was a lawyer, and I can't remember, but I introduced those 2, and then 2 others were to do with safety, women's safety. So I introduced those 2. So it was really interesting to know that they've carried on that collaboration with each other, just because they were on the podcast, and I could see that they had something that they could offer somebody else. So there you go. So
I'm a connector. That. You are at least an acting connector, because you initiated those connections. And some of us just respond, and that's great. You can be a responsive connector. If people ask, you'll respond. But what I loved hearing from you, Rose, was that you put the dots together and you thought, hey, these people might want to meet, and made it happen. So initiating it is a really powerful thing. And the nice thing for you is that now every time that they're talking, you are there, right? Without having to be there. You're front of mind. You are getting the credit for their connection.
Yeah, and it is a great collaboration. I've seen some emails, and emails from one couple, and some really positive feedback from another. So I was really happy with that. So it made my day, actually.
And I hope, there's 2 ways that you can even strengthen it. So hopefully the people who received that gift from you of connection will kind of circle back with you and let you know what happened. But if they don't, put a little tickler in your calendar, and then just send the note saying, hey, would love to hear how it turned out with your conversation with so-and-so, and do it to both people. And now you are strengthening your connection to both of those people yet again.
Oh, what a great tip. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Michelle. So they can find you at michelletillislederman.com. We've already seen that, and it's a very impressive website, I must say. You're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and on YouTube and on Instagram. So you're absolutely everywhere.
I'm everywhere, but I will say that YouTube and LinkedIn are probably my two favorites. I do these little success shorty videos. So when this is released, and if you share it with me, I'll get it up on my station
Oh,
as
of course
well.
I will. Don't you worry. All right, Michelle, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and please enjoy your evening.
Thanks for having me on.
Talking with the experts.